Beginning of the meeting.
Sure, I just started the recording. Okay, the regular meeting of the Minneapolis Arts Commission will now begin. This meeting is being recorded in accordance with the open meeting law.
Yay. Good evening, everybody. My name is Joan Vorderbergen. I am the chair of the Minneapolis Arts Commission. Before we begin, I'd like to note that this meeting includes the remote participation of members as authorized under Minnesota Statute Section 13D.021. Due to the declared local health pandemic, I will now call this meeting to order, and I ask the clerk to call the roll so that we may verify the presence of a quorum. Thank you.
Commissioner Aylesworth,
Present.
Commissioner Bedbury,
Present.
Commissioner Brinkman,
Present.
Commissioner Silky Jones,
Present.
Commissioner Mansfield,
Present.
Commissioner Middag, Commissioner Mobus,
Present.
Commissioner Smith,
Present.
Commissioner Swinton,
Present.
Commissioner Thompson,
Present.
and Commissioner Vorderbergen.
Present. Awesome. Thank you. With that, we will proceed to our agenda, a copy of which was posted for public access to the city's legislative information management system, which is available at lims.minneapolismn.gov. All right. And Tina, I think, there you go. You can drop that in the chat. The agenda's in the chat if it's easier for you to follow it there. So I guess the next order of business is to adopt this evening's agenda. Oh, I think we have one more person coming in. Let's go ahead and let that individual in. Hi, welcome. We can wait, and I'm not sure if this is a guest or this could be Lisa.
I did just join and I was not able to through Teams for some reason, so I thought I would just call in.
Oh, wonderful. Thank you so much. And I'm glad you're here. Is that okay, Tina, to add Commissioner Middag to the roll call for the evening?
Yes, I added her. Thank you.
Okay, great. Thanks a lot. Okay, adoption of tonight's agenda. We are moving item number 7 to item number 10C. So we'll have public art updates, consent agenda items, and the Accession will be in there. Can I get a motion to approve?
So moved.
So moved.
All right, we have a motion and a second. All in favor? Do we have to call the roll on the, I'm sorry that I always feel like I'm Robert's rulesing all over myself, but like I have to call the roll for the agenda. Do, Tina?
Yes, we can. Yes.
All right, let's rock it.
Commissioner Aylesworth,
Aye.
Commissioner Bedbury,
Aye.
Commissioner Brinkman,
Aye.
Commissioner Silky Jones,
Aye.
Commissioner Mansfield,
Aye.
Commissioner Middag,
Aye.
Commissioner Mobus,
Aye.
Commissioner Smith, Commissioner Swinton,
Aye.
Commissioner Thompson,
Aye.
Commissioner Vorderbergen,
Aye.
and I'll go back to Commissioner Smith.
Okay.
We're adopting the agenda.
Sorry, I got disconnected. Aye.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, thank you. That motion passes. Okay, next item is the acceptance of minutes for July 21st, 2021 Minneapolis Arts Commission meeting. We are motioning that as well.
I so move.
Thank you. Can I have a second?
Second.
Okay, we have a proper motion before us. Is there any discussion about the minutes before the clerk calls the roll? Okay, thank you, Tina.
Commissioner Aylesworth,
Aye.
Commissioner Bedbury,
Aye.
Commissioner Brinkman,
Aye.
Commissioner Silky Jones,
Aye.
Commissioner Mansfield,
Aye.
Commissioner Midak, Commissioner Mobus,
Aye.
Commissioner Smith, Commissioner Swinton,
Aye.
Commissioner Thompson,
Aye.
and Commissioner Vorderbergen.
Aye. All right, that motion passes. Yay, let's move on to introductions and get started. So we do have a guest with us who knows some of us, which is really nice, and is excited to meet all of you. So I think for tonight with our introductions, I think we'll do what we typically do and tag the next person just so we can keep things flowing. But for right now, I would say if it's okay for you to introduce yourself, your pronouns, and your ward, and then whatever you want to share. Just like keep it brief, I guess. What if you're in a mood, if you want to share a little something about that, if there's something you're excited about, I'm gonna just have it be like your choice. And I will want to pick. I'm gonna ask for a volunteer to pick on to kick us off though, and we'll do commissioners, staff, and then guests. Does that sound good? Who wants to kick it off?
I can, I guess, because I hit the mute button and it actually unmuted. So that's a big deal for me. Now I'm in a happy mood. Hello, everyone. My name is Mandy Bedbury. I represent Ward 10 on the commission. I am an actor, mostly comedy improv in the city. And I also teach professional development and leadership training using improv. Improv will save the world. And I guess my mood is a little bit punchy. I guess we're finding that out as I speak. I don't think I've actually had to speak to too many people today, so it's always fun to save it for last for you guys. I'm going to tag Commissioner Mansfield because I adore the new hair color. I love it.
Thank you. Hi, Commissioner Mari Mansfield. I live in Ward 8. My pronouns are she, her, hers. And I'm looking forward to this weekend because there's a big powwow in Shakopee. So I'm gonna tag Lana.
Thanks, Mari. Hi, Commissioner Lana Aylesworth, she, her, hers. I'm from Ward 11. I serve on the Arts Commission as a layperson / arts enthusiast, but I come to the commission through theater arts primarily. And so I'm really excited that we're also getting into some realms of literary arts, both in our conversation and in some of the work we're doing with policy. So excited for the conversation tonight. I'm going to tag Crystal.
Hi, everyone. I am Crystal Brinkman. I live in Ward 1. And she, her, hers. I am pretty excited about tonight's meeting as well. I had to miss last month, so it's great to see everyone, and I'm really excited for the conversation and the discussion. And I will tag Jack.
Hi, everyone. My name is Jack Mabius. He, him pronouns. I live in Ward 12. I work at the University of Minnesota at the Institute on the Environment. I am really stoked. I just started my master's in public affairs program at the university in the Humphrey School, and super excited to get that going. I will tag Jeff.
Hello, everyone. Jeff Swinton, Ward 7, he, him, his. And I guess for me, I'm all thrown off because I've been traveling and going into the office. And so today I realized it's 5 o'clock. I'm in Bloomington and I have a meeting. Usually it's just a walk up the stairs, but I made it. I made it on time, but I am glad to be here. Oh, I tag Commissioner Silky Jones.
Hello, everyone. I'm going to hop off on camera for a moment so I can say hello in person. But my name is Commissioner Silky Jones. I represent Ward 7. Pronouns are she, hers. I am executive director for a K-8 charter school for arts and science called Da Vinci Academy. And we started school 2 weeks ago, which is hard to believe. And Mandy was one of our extraordinary back to school professional development arts integration sessions. So a little connection for you there. But anyways, we have a back to school directors event tonight. So I am calling in from Stillwater. A pleasure to see everyone.
Thank you.
And I muted myself and then couldn't unmute myself. I will call on Joan.
Great, thank you, and thanks for being here with all that going on. Joan Vorderbergen, chair of the commission, she, her, hers. I represent wards 3 and 7, and work at Hennepin Theater Trust, and have a lot of public art happening and lots of programming, and it's all happening. I am super excited about being together with you all. I think sometimes the weight of this particular role can kind of feel heavy on me. And I worry about it quite a bit, but I also just like when we actually are in the space together, even though it's virtual, like it's just so nice to see you all. And I just love working with you. So I get a lot of energy from just being here with you. So thank you everyone for being in the space. And I'm excited to chill with you for the next 90 minutes. And I will pass it to Commissioner Smith.
Hey, I'm Commissioner David Smith. I'm Ward 1, he, his. I'm a layperson on the commission, but I do a lot of art in my spare time. I'm having a lot of connection issues. Hopefully you guys can still hear me. I'll tag Lana.
Have we heard from Lisa yet? Maybe Lisa Midag can go.
Sounds good.
All right. Hi, everyone. I'm Lisa Midag. I am a she, her, hers, and I represent Ward 2 on the commission. I also work for the Minneapolis Downtown Improvement District, which is in the downtown wards, on sort of placemaking strategies in public space. We just wrapped the 3rd annual Downtown Street Art Festival, which we do in conjunction with Hennepin Theater Trust. So I am just fighting an endurance race to Friday, which I'm taking Friday and Monday off this week because we had Beyond the Box performances at PV and at Nicollet Towers on Monday and Tuesday night, which were great, but we're just wasted. So I didn't have the fortitude to try and tough it out and defeat. Technology has been fighting me all day, so I just thought I would take a deep breath and call in instead of trying to make, after, I don't know, 10 minutes trying to make Teams work on my phone, I just gave up. So sorry about that. And I can't see who else is in the room. So if anyone else would go that has not yet gone, thank you very much.
I think all of the commissioners have gone. Thank you, Lisa, for making it. Oh, I'm sorry, Commissioner Thompson, your turn.
Hey, everybody. Lucy Thompson, she, her, hers, Ward 10, and I'm an arts lay person on the commission. I actually just got back from Madison. I took down, it's really hard to explain, but a wood block neighborhood modeling system to my graduate program. It was invented by my partner, and it will now be used as a teaching tool. My partner passed away several years ago, and so I'm working on kind of his legacy, and really loved being able to donate the neighborhood modeling system to my alma mater, Madison, my graduate program. I have a background in city planning. There, went to a lot of galleries and saw kind of what the Madison art scene is. So I can't report locally, but I did have a great past couple days in Madison.
Thank you. That sounds lovely. All right. So is there anybody, commissioners that didn't go? I think we'll now move to, I'm going to tag Mary.
Hi, everybody. Mary Altman, she, her, hers. I lead the public art team for the city, and I am going to paste what I'm excited about in the chat, we just are wrapping up installation on a piece by Seytu Jones, which is the 40th Street pedestrian bridge. And this has been, like, as Seytu kind of reminded me, not so happily this morning, 45 years in the making. And so it's like part of it already needs conservation while the last part is getting done. It's been going on for so long, but I'm really excited. So I'll put it in the chat.
Thank you. Wow. I'm a little speechless about that, but I'm excited to find out more. Tina, could you go?
Sure. Hi, I'm Tina Beach. I live in Ward 5. I provide the administrative support for the Arts Commission, and I work for the city of Minneapolis. And I'm excited to be here. I'm happy to see Crystal. I haven't seen you forever, so happy to see you. So yeah, looking forward to the meeting tonight.
That's awesome. Thank you so much. Do we have anyone else on the call that's staff? I don't think so. Okay, and now we will ask our guest to introduce himself, and also too, that's the first item of discussion. So I don't know, Commissioner Swinton, I didn't know if you wanted to say any words about Keno being here with us tonight. I know that I just want to say on behalf of all of us, we really appreciate the effort that you and the Access team have been putting forward in, you know, these kind of really challenging times to cultivate these special guest speakers and the time it takes to make that happen. So I'll pass it to you quick, Jeff, and then Keno, go ahead.
Yeah, I just like to say, you know, thanks for the kind words, Joan, and really excited to hear Keno. I tell you what, the Arts Commission has been good to me because of it. I reached out to Keno, and we've started to develop a relationship and a partnership. And not being on the Arts Commission, I probably wouldn't know about him and the great works that Black Table Arts are doing. So I'll throw it over to him. He's, you know, a dynamic person with a great story, and that's still being told. You know.
Thank you so much for having me in the kind introductions. I'm Keno Eval, he, him, his pronouns. I'm the founder and director of the Black Table Arts Cooperative. I'm gonna just speak briefly about Black Table Arts and kind of work backwards here. It's a joy to be in community with folks that I know are in community and take arts seriously as shaping the sort of future of the city. So it's a joy and a blessing to be here with you all. So I run the Black Table Arts Cooperative. We are a hub and political home for Black artists in the state of Minnesota. And we say political home because we're rooted in a sort of kind of political education. You know, we see seriously that art has something to say about shaping the future of local communities, of cities. We started in 2015. This is before we got our building in this year. We started in 2015. When we started, we existed in partnership with other venues in the city, doing work at the intersections of Black togetherness, civic engagement, and grassroots organizing. We're deeply rooted in the Black, you know, literary tradition. Folks like, you know, Gwendolyn Brooks, who is thinking about things like verse journalism, right? That poetics is a kind of alternative way to put out news, right? So we're very much interested in what does gathering Black artists have to say about the material conditions of Black life in a city. So we do all kinds of stuff at the co-op. We do writing workshops, we do bonfires, we do panel discussions, we do trainings for community organizers. We got our first building this year from resources that we got during the uprising, when folks were kind of having an eye on the Twin Cities as a source for Black social movement. Black Table Arts was one of the many organizations that got lifted up in a larger ecosystem. So we believe at Black Table Arts, it's sort of like our unofficial slogan that art keeps the enthusiasm of social movement alive, right? That organizing community grassroots grassroots work, right? That doesn't have to be so much a chore as it is a space where you meet your colleagues, you meet your friends, and you do collective projects, right? And you get the word out about the things that make Black social life less possible, and how can we cooperate together to think of alternatives. And that's what we do in Black Lives Matter. That's what we do at the Because Black Live Conference. That, you know, that's what we write about in our sort of anthologies, such as A Garden of Black Joy. All of this is an effort to remind people that, you know, there's that quote by Fred Moten: the only way to protect joy is to practice it. And that's where our heart is. Let's protect each other by a certain ethical practice that comes alive when we connect the artists to the grassroots. So that's what we've been doing since 2015. We got our first building in February. It's on Minnehaha, 3737 Minnehaha Avenue South. We have 80 plus members. Everyone gets a key card. They beat themselves in. On a given day, you can find Black folks just getting together, having conversations, sending emails. We have a nice coffee machine. We have rooms. You know, every room is named after a Black writer that is rooted in what we talk about at our events. So that's kind of Black Table Arts. Now, I was born in Chicago, but I was raised here. I'm a child of South Minneapolis. I was, you know, a theater kid in high school. The reason why I'm doing what I'm doing is because of art programming. It's because I stayed after school through programming powered by Pillsbury House Theater. It's because I kind of took a leap in a certain way to participate in youth poetry slams. Right, I saw teaching artists like Tish Jones and Shay Cage and E.G. Bailey and Quest for the Voice, and I came up in a culture that took poets seriously. You know, so I did youth poetry slam in high school for 2 years. I did Brave New Voices. I went to San Francisco as a part of the team from Minnesota. And that really opened up my eyes to recognize that a poet can have a career, but not just a career, but be a catalyst to talk about social activism. So that's part of the of my own personal narrative. I got a job at Pillsbury House Theater really early on. So I got well versed in the nonprofit sector, particularly around how to shape curriculum, how to think about shaping a semester long program, how to apply for funding for that program. So this is all things that I learned within the experience of having mentors that took me seriously, that, you know, asked me to take myself seriously enough to actually shape some lessons for young folks, shaping programs that I went through and am now tasked to lead through places like Pillsbury House Theater. And so for around like 5 years, before I started Black Table Arts, I was a teaching artist in high schools, doing workshops at universities, just traveling, doing arts literacy work. And then I started Black Table Arts in 2015, and then did that for 5 years. And then and now we got our first space, really trying to keep a promise, right? We think about this work as promise keeping. and that promise is that the artists can stand at the front lines of social movement, and to always remind our local Black communities that there's always a safe space um, to come back to be reminded of the joy of art, the joy of surprise, the joy of seeing your people laugh together, write poems together, all of these things. So yeah, so that's sort of a narrative of myself and of Black table arts, and there's a lot of, I think, synergies with the Arts Commission in terms of the spaces that could be that could emerge, particularly after this George Floyd moment that has really shaped into a movement. What's the role of the poet at the city level? Poets have ideas and imaginations. What are the ways in which that could sort of um, be nurtured, you know? And that's really what we're thinking about. Poetry, not only language sculpted beautifully, but imagination and alternative ideas that could be taken seriously. So yeah, so that's sort of what calls us to the space, what calls me to the space, and it's a joy to um, sit here with you all and discuss a few things. We're particularly excited about the Poet Laureate initiative and ways in which we could plug young people into this idea of a youth poet laureate, and the ways in which this work comes full circle in that that process could look like a poetry slam to select a youth poet laureate that could work in tandem with another poet laureate, you know, an adult. And, you know, we could talk about mentorship or the like, but we're really excited about um, young people being empowered to know that um, their their voice and their intellect and their imagination um, has something to say about their future in the city that they live in. So the Youth Poet Laureate um, initiative, the Poet Laureate initiative, is something that we're particularly excited about, and I'm excited to continue the conversations and take questions and just be here with you all. So thank you.
Hey, Kino. Hey, just one. Joan, can I? I'm sorry. Can I ask a question? Sorry, but yeah. So, could you talk about? Hey, thanks for just a wonderful introduction to both yourself and to the Black Table Arts. I appreciate that, the depth that you went into it. Could you give a little color to kind of the youth programs that you guys are doing and things about, because it is very interesting, in our conversations that we've had about youth, how do you get them more involved in arts early? And the Poet Laureate could be, a way to do that, but just some of your thinking on how do you get youth around the city more involved in poetry, like you benefited from when you were younger.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, one, a lot of young people come to our events. It's predominantly like high school or early college folks. We have um, we have programs that we're going to be starting out in the fall, enrollment programs. One of which is the Youth Cooperative Lab, and the Youth Cooperative Lab is going to be around 8 weeks, 2 days a week, Tuesdays and Thursdays, partnering a community organizer with a writer, and where young folks are going to be able to better their craft, but also think about, what is a local campaign? How do we think about the tactics that art allows for us to get the word out about campaigns, about um, you, you know, being an arts activist, So the Cooperative Lab is something that we're excited to start. Um, And a big part of our work is collaborating with young folks as well on their stuff that they want to do in the community. So, for example, the Bridge Makers recently had an event in our space that helped get the word out about stuff that they're doing. But most of our events, which are pretty packed when we have them. Normally, the co-op people, come and go, but when we hold events, it's mostly attended by that high school age, early college age group of folks. Yeah. So one of the reasons why we're particularly interested in this idea of a youth poet laureate, again, is because when I was in high school, Youth Poetry Slam was the container to link young writers to mentors in a national experience of poetry. So that was my first national experience, right? So Brave New Voices, a 500 poet conference from folks around the country, really around the world actually, happening every year. And each state has a local slam. You know, it gives a kind of confidence and community that is just so important, right? And even particularly, Andrea Jenkins, I mean, her story of, Gwendolyn Brooks coming to her classroom in Chicago. And, Andrea has been a judge at, poetry slams here in the city. So there's, I think, a natural affinity with poetry, poets, youth poetry slam, and city and civic engagement. It's where young people can meet their peers, and each slam has a panel of judges that are knowledgeable about literature, but um, participate in writing workshops, professional development that's a part of the larger poetry slam curriculum, right? So it's not just the events themselves, but plugging mentors into leading these young people through a process. And we say all the time, it's not about the points, it's about the poet, right? So it speaks to, even if a young person particularly doesn't get selected, you're part of a cohort that's going through a thing, so yeah, that's a little bit about how we see young folks engaged at the co-op, and how we would like to see young folks engaged in the future too. So any other questions or things I'm thinking about?
Does anybody else have any questions or comments that they want to share with Kino? I guess I'll just volunteer that I'm not surprised at how many notes I took and all the powerful points you had in your conversation here, and telling more about yourself and the work that you lead at Black Table Arts. It's really inspiring, and I think I'm just very appreciative of the effort that it takes to get a vision like this to happen. And I know that you've been very dedicated for a super long time, and just what a treasured amenity you have created for our community, and prioritizing youth and just paying that forward from a lived experience where that happened. I've just been commenting to some other people that I admire that, like, one of the greatest gifts that we can ever give is to teach what we've been taught, and to those gifts, to continue with those gifts moving forward for our young people. So I know a lot of our commissioners feel similarly. But anyway, so thank you, Kino. Would anyone else like to ask any questions about Black Table Arts, or Kino specifically, or even the Youth Poet Laureate initiative that he's talking about? Okay. Well, with that, I guess I'll just say on behalf of everybody here, thank you so much for your time, your effort, the work you're doing in community. We hope that this is just the beginning of a long relationship and that we can continue to find meaningful paths to collaborate with you and to strengthen your work and to strengthen the work of the commission. So all the blessings and gratitude your way. Thanks everybody for holding space with Kino today.
Thank you all for having
Thank
me.
you. Thank you.
All right. So we are moving on to item number 6 in our discussion. And Tina, we are asking you to provide us with an update about in-person meetings.
Well, I don't really have any updates. It's pretty much still the same as far as September 30th. That's the last I've heard from the clerk's office. So I haven't heard anything beyond that. I know that we pushed back our go back to in-person as far as CPED, the department I work in, to November 1st. So, and the city, I believe, is October. So, so there's a lot of moving parts right now, and I apologize. I don't really have any new updates, but I've still been told September 30th for in person. And I think we have a Arts and Commissions meeting next week. So hopefully at that point, I'll have more information. I can pass that on as soon as I hear from the clerk's office.
I'm sorry, somebody joined us on the phone that I think wasn't in our introductions. Do we have a guest present that we didn't? I just want to acknowledge if someone is here, if that's okay, if you don't mind introducing yourself. Was there someone who called in?
It might just be me. It's David. I joined on the phone because I was disconnecting a lot.
Oh, great. Okay. Just want to make sure. Thank you. And as far as in-person meetings, I think the biggest implications for us are the work of the Access team and just the planning and all of the work that goes into trying to make those things go. And I appreciate that this uncertainty is not helpful at all. And the uncertainty of the pandemic and the circumstances we're kind of facing and that are changing all the time is also very challenging. But one of the things that I think was shared in executive that I would like to share is the our hope that we can continue to have accessibility via virtual participation, that we know that this decreases barriers for a lot of us, and that it could potentially decrease barriers for future commissioners as well. And so like just hoping, and I know Tina knows that, like, while I think everybody would like nothing more than to be able to be together in a space, and especially in a community space, and especially in a art making space in the city, that we also just want to recognize that this does have accessibility benefits that matter. So we'll continue to carry that forward. And Tina, of course, if you feel that any advocacy is needed from us, we'll be as helpful as we are able to be for that. So any comments or feedback about in-person meetings and the just not knowing when or if they can happen? Go ahead, Jack.
Yeah, I think that honestly, the pandemic has definitely opened up how many accessibility issues there are, right? Even whether it's be closed captioning or being able to be there by video or remote or whatever. And so I think that, as much as I think it's really wonderful that we all want to be in person, I think that having this accessibility issues is actually really important to maintain and to have for future meetings, so that it is actually accessible to the majority of folks. Yeah.
Thank you. Yeah. I appreciate those comments. Anybody else have anything that they want to add? Okay. All right. Thank you. Okay. Item number 8. So I'm sorry. Yes, we are skipping to item number 8, which is just going directly into our ALT team updates. Now, so executive committee, you'll see some dense copy there. There is a number of seats that are expiring at the end of this year, and the executive committee just wants to like kind of let everybody know that we're aware of this, and our plan is to reach out to each of you. And we all kind of have our assignments who's going to reach out to you if they haven't already, just to have a conversation about this. And to find out, to check the temperature about whether or not there'll be a renewal of the application status for the seat, or if there will be a departure that we plan for. So it's clearly, I think, I can speak on behalf of everyone that we appreciate everybody's efforts and their talents and their skills and abilities on the commission. We wish for everyone to stay, but understand that circumstances be that they are, that may not be the right decision for each of the people who have served their term. So just know that someone from the executive committee will be reaching out to you to just have that conversation. So hopefully you can make the time to have that conversation before our next executive committee meeting. The other item here is the current vacancies. We have intentionally tried to keep these artist seats open. And we do have one candidate that has applied that we are willing to interview, and Mandy and Mari and I have been volunteering to serve as our interview committee, and we need to get together about a time that will work to interview the candidates whose application we have. We have made a commitment to also really focus on BIPOC commissioners and cultivating and networking and making space for and time for to try to fill those seats with BIPOC commissioners. Even better from wards that are not yet represented or deserve increased representation. So I know that this is a really challenging task, and I know that it's kind of on our agenda every month. I ask you all to just please do whatever it is that you can to attract a candidate pool that is representational of our community in any way that you're able to. And I can work a little harder on this too. There are a lot of very exciting policy discussions that are forthcoming. We are revamping the public art policies, slow but sure. There's also a new Office of Arts and Cultural Affairs that we were helpful in advancing, something that is like monumental, right? It's like, what is that? What does that look like? And our policy group has been doing an absolutely fantastic job staying at the forefront of all of that and advocating for us to have a seat at the table. And that's some pretty legacy level stuff. So I just think that, like, if there's a way to entice some thought leadership, if I can be helpful with it, if any of us can be helpful with it, like, let's try and again, I am tipping my hat to the Access and Engagement Committee who has been out meeting people and talking to people and doing that work. So thank you very much. So you are all encouraged to give that a little bit of thought and potentially commit to inviting one person that you think might be receptive to the idea. Okay. Any other feedback or considerations about that? I guess I would say this isn't on our agenda for updates, but the idea of a sort of Q4 retreat has come up. We've done that in the past. The pandemic complicates things. What does that look like? What outcomes are we looking for? Also, the year in review. We haven't really done that before, but it's come up that, like, it would be really nice to be able to sort of put together a little something to show kind of the work that we did advance and and who we are. And I know we have a great handout that we've worked on and continue to update, but, like, is there some sort of final report about, like, all of the activity that we did? And I don't know if anybody else on exec wants to comment just about kind of where we are at, but our agenda looks much like the general MAC agenda does. Just so you're aware, we provide each other with updates and then kind of talk about how to address some of the work that's at hand, as well as supporting our ALT teams in accomplishing their goals as well. So that's really all I had for executive committee updates, unless anybody else wants to provide anything in addition. or has any questions. All right. Okay, so we're going to move on to Access and Engagement Committee updates, and I am uncertain who on that fantastic group is going to provide us with whatever updates you have for this month, but take it away.
I can take it away. I am excited to keep kind of reaching out to, we've been working on reaching out to community members, organizations, artists, to get speakers, learn more about what's going on in the community, have meetings, and, you know, suss out kind of the possibilities for somebody hosting a meeting in the community when that is appropriate. So that work continues. Also, some brainstorming around recruitment to fill these vacant seats and getting the word out that there is opportunity here for folks to come through and join us. And we are working on gathering some information from artists who have worked with the city, or worked with, in all kinds of ways, to gather information about what can we focus on, what are ways that we can minimize barriers and make some of the work with the city more accessible, get more people to participate, think about any kind of professional or artistic development kind of things that we could maybe help facilitate or connect people to. And I feel like all of that, like everything really in the universe, let's be real, is interconnected and just all intersects, right? Like, you know, the work the city's doing and what it takes to do that kind of work, and updating people on what public art things are going on, and the budgets, and the, you know, the new department. So that's kind of what we've been working on, what our conversations have been focused on. One little quick update is I noticed in the minutes, and I wasn't there this month or last month's meeting, about all my relations arts, and I have reached out to them, though I haven't heard back. So unless somebody else has, which I haven't heard, that's not actually a thing that's committed to yet. But that would be an exciting space to be in, wouldn't it? So, or learn more. They have a lot going on as well. So we're working on that, but that's not committed yet. I just wanted to clarify that point. What did I miss? Mandy and or Jeff and or Lisa.
My mute button's up to 7 seconds, I think. Also that I've jumped on board to help with the public art dedication planning. Mary invited us as the ALT access and engagement to kind of jump on board. So I'm going to be attending that meeting next week. I think it's next week. Yeah. Wow. August is flying. To see if we can help with that as well on behalf of the MAC.
Thank you. Hey, appreciate that. And thank you so much, Crystal. Those are wonderful updates, like just awesome work. Thanks so much. And I know a couple of y'all serve on the exec committee too, so you're really giving of your time, and I know everybody stays busy. So just thanks so much. I hope you know how much that work is just so vital and important and critical to our success, that I really appreciate that. So any questions or comments for the Access team?
Hi, I have a question, and I'm not sure if the Access team is the person to ask, but I was wondering about like our social media, and if there's a way to like expand pages, because I know we're not like on Instagram, which is a huge hub for artists. Yeah.
That's an awesome question. I think I'll punt that one over to Mary. And Mari, I think this has come up before. I think it has been a little bit unresolved about what we can and can't do. I'm an administrator on our Facebook page, and I oftentimes kind of don't know if, like, I don't know. So Mary, do you want to just like tell us where things are at today? And is there any opportunity that we can expand social media platform work?
So the city is trying to consolidate all of the pages it has on social media. It has a lot of pages on social media. Most of the city's boards and commissions don't even have a Facebook site, but the Arts Commission started theirs so early. It was grandfathered in and didn't really have to go through the hoops that a whole bunch of other specific city sites have had to go through. The city has an Instagram site. I am guessing that a huge part of planning the new department will be putting together a communications plan for the new department, and that will include looking at what is the social media for the new department and how does it incorporate the Arts Commission. You know, all of that needs to be revamped, and I think we just all need to be patient because this is going to be like one of the agendas of the new department, but the new department's also going to have a whole bunch of agendas immediately, including doing projects related to the American Rescue Act. So I think the opportunity will be there. It's not going to be there for a while.
Thank you, Mary. And I see that we got a City of Minneapolis TikTok, and it is.
I think you cut out, Mari, or you cut out for me anyways.
Oh yeah. Oh, sorry. Well, I saw that we have a City of Minneapolis TikTok, so it is great that we're in there some way.
Yeah.
Wow.
We have a person at the city who does nothing but social media. So
I wonder if, I mean, okay, here's me pushing. Like, could we talk to that person? Or could one of us say,
I think you can talk to that person, and that person will say that all of this will be rolled out with the new department.
Okay, we're gonna get.
I think you can talk to him, but I would say I just think everyone's going to tell us to wait.
But it might be as easy as saying like, hey, City of Minneapolis social media guru, we have a lot of openings. Is it possible for you to craft a couple of posts on our behalf?
Oh, I think if you want to post your openings on Instagram on the City of Minneapolis site, we could ask him to do that. He probably would do that. And yeah.
Can we have that as an action step? Action step number 1. Okay, so connecting.
I can make that my action step. I'll email him right now.
Oh, look at that. Okay. Excellent. Thank you. That was a nice path. And we will continue to wait, but we will also continue to push, right, everybody? So that's great. Okay. Any other questions or comments or concerns for access? Okay. Let's move on. Drum roll, please. Policy and Advocacy Committee. I believe Commissioner Aylesworth, are you delivering updates today?
Sure thing. Hi, friends. We just want to loop you in on some of the conversations we've been having as a policy team. One of the action items that we've been discussing is the consent agenda policies. Looking at why we use a consent agenda, does everyone know how that works and how it's beneficial to us? So we have some notes here for everyone to share, but right now we're just in a brainstorm phase. So what we're doing is gathering some ideas and information, and we're also calling it out for you, lovely commissioners, to respond back with some feelings and questions that we have here. The notes are pretty clear as our first basic steps, but it's about procedures, it's about how we share information, and it's really about a call to what our criteria should be if these items appear on our agenda for consent, or if it's more of a discussion process. Do we have a longer presentation for certain public art pieces? What would the criteria be if so, is the main question. So what I would love from all commissioners would be a short but sweet email to myself when you get a chance of somewhere between 1 to infinity questions about what you would like to see as the criteria, right? Like, is it about funding? Is it about community resources? Is it about the location of the artwork that would deem it necessary to have a broader discussion? What do you think? For me, it's at least all of those and maybe several others. So what I'll do is pull through from everyone's emails and try to see where there are some broad strokes so that we can develop something more succinct to bring to a future MAC meeting where we would then vote on adopting this policy. So it really is just an initial brainstorming phase. You know, this agenda item here includes some discussion about, 48 hours notice so that we can prepare if anybody wants to move something from consent to discussion, and also adding some dialogue from our chair that would ask if any consent agenda items need to be moved at the top of each meeting. Also, more information coming out earlier to commissioners. So that's one big item that I'm pushing for. Like, can we get a little bit more broad information earlier and have more time to review it, to ask questions with more time ahead of our meetings? So those are some questions I have, and I welcome all the questions that you may have too. So action item, help me out, send me some questions for criteria for this, preferably before the next executive meeting. So if you could do that, I would greatly appreciate it. And that's the update on where we are with that. That's it.
Really great job.
Oh, I see a hand.
Go ahead, Crystal.
When do those meetings happen?
Usually that Tuesday before we meet.
Yeah, and this next time it's the Thursday because I think there was some little.
Oh, right.
Yeah, but yeah, so Thursday.
I want to say by Thursday the 14th, I think it is, but I'm
right
on my phone, so I can't check my calendar.
Yeah. Okay. Thanks.
Yeah. And just if I could just give, so thank you, policy team, for cleaning this up and clarifying our process. I can tell you just a little bit, I know y'all know this stuff, but I just kind of like to give a little background of like a couple of years ago, decisions were made to place public art projects in a consent agenda pattern in an effort to create room in our meeting time for our ALT teams to advance other work. Not that the public art items were not important. There's great representation on the Public Art Advisory Committee of MAC membership, but a couple of things have happened. One is I think we swayed like to the other side of things a little too hard. We're like all of a sudden everything was on consent agenda, and some of these projects are monstrous. They're huge and they're really big budgets with lots of cultural references and resources and community members, and it's like, whoa. I think that it's just the lane got a little too far over here, and part of that is because we didn't have a very clear process and policy for consent agenda and how to move an item off, how that might just affect all of the processes and timelines and things like that. So, and then, really understanding that like the commission needs to have a little more information about these bigger projects sooner than when they need to be approved. And so that all kind of is a part of the conversation as well. So that's where Commissioner Aylesworth has done a really good job advocating for like, what of those projects do we need updates for sooner when they're in that design phase, and for when we could be helpful, when we could be a resource of information for artists and sort of provide a little kick the tires and a little like, hey, like we would want to see this, so that we're not getting a buttoned up package that we have issue with, right? And that it's like disruptive and whatever. So I know that a lot of you really know that context, but for any of you who don't, that's kind of where this is happening. And that's why it's like so greatly appreciated that the policy team picked it up and are moving forward with that. So thank you so much, Commissioner Aylesworth. Is there any, and everyone who's on policy, is there any other comments, questions, feedback about the consent agenda policy work right now? Okay, let's advance to the next item then, the Poet Laureate Work Group. So I guess more updates from Commissioner Aylesworth. That's
Hi,
okay.
me again. We're gonna get a Poet Laureate. It's pretty exciting. So at our last meeting, we said, who wants to work on it? And I said, I will. And so did Ahava, and Mandy has joined the fold as well. We would still welcome another commissioner if anyone else has interest. The big update here is that we do have a meeting set with both Councilmember Fletcher and Council Vice President Jenkins for Monday. So we're going to be meeting Monday at 4 o'clock to discuss more information, hopefully talking through some budget steps. So what our working group is currently working on is a bit of an email share on looking at other cities, what they do with poet laureates, specifically ones like Golgoon recommended last time that we look at ones with youth initiatives. And I loved that Kino echoed that today in the intro. So something that has a youth component, something that really serves our community, and, you know, like looking at what financial backing has provided, who has provided that financial backing, and what are some of the criteria that other cities have looked at. So that's part of the research that we're all doing independently, and then email sharing together so that everyone has insight on what the commitment would look like. It looks like some Googling, some emailing, and maybe an extra meeting each month with our working group, and then an additional meeting each month, hopefully with city representation too. So we're also going to be asking about next steps, like who else is going to be at the table. Obviously, you know, it's great that Kino has interest, and we would love to welcome even more voices. And so we're going to be asking council members how to best facilitate that and what it looks like going forward. And then I'm just reading a lot of poetry. I'm out here, I'm in northern Michigan by the lake. I brought like 5 different books of local poetry. It's like my new jam, friends. Like, can you read a poem in the morning? Can you live with that poem all day long and then see if you read it again at night if it's totally different? This is like my new favorite thing. So who knew? Thanks, Arts Commission. Everybody should be on this working group because, you know, you get to read poems. If that's not your bag, maybe it could be. Anybody else throw your hat in the ring, just email me. Yeah, Jack, I see a hand.
Yeah, I'll throw my hat in the ring.
Awesome. Yay.
I don't have a lot of background in literary arts, but I think this might be a good opportunity for me to throw. I mean, yeah, I've done every other art basically, so
cool.
I'd be happy to participate. And especially, I mean, if I can bring any sort of administrative help or, you know, scheduling or anything like that, that's definitely my talents lie. So yeah.
Good. Are you available on Monday, August 23rd at 4 p.m.? Awesome. I'll throw you on to the invite too. Thanks so much for that.
Yeah, I just checked. I can connect with you offline, but it might be good to send it to my UMN address because using too many calendars can be problematic.
Okay.
So, yeah.
And Jack, if I'm hearing you correctly, you are offering to kind of run admin potentially in the future for the group. Ooh, that is valuable.
Yeah.
Thank you.
So,
Thank you.
Any corresponding materials or scheduling needs, or, you know, preparing materials, or, you know, doing some research, I'm happy to help with any way that I can.
Yeah. Awesome. Thank you. A hand from Jeff.
I think Crystal was first.
Oh, sorry. Hand from Crystal.
Yeah. No? Okay. No. Then I'll go. So, and I had to step out for 1 second. When the council members were here, they had mentioned something about wanting to get back by like late August. Is that part of the plan? And they also were very eager to get something going by October because of elections and things getting. So I just, like I said, I didn't hear all of your report. I just want to make sure we're on time, on the timeline, to make sure we can get this over, because they had the desire to make sure that they could get it in the budget for the October meeting. So if I missed something, I apologize.
Yes. No worries. Thank you so much. That's also one of our priorities. So I was mentioning that we are meeting with Councilmember Fletcher and Council Vice President Jenkins on Monday, August 23rd at 4 o'clock. So we have a meeting set up for a working group. We just got a new member with Jack. So, you know, if anyone else still wants to join in the working group, they're welcome to do so. We're kind of information gathering. And I'm not sure if you heard the note about, we really appreciate Kino's interest, and I'm going to be bringing it up at the meeting with council members, how we can move forward with new voices at the table beyond just MAC working group, like what our next steps would be to welcome other voices in. So I would definitely love to get him you know, not to say a seat at the table when we're talking about Black table arts. There's a lot of tables, but I just think he's phenomenal and should be at every table there is. So we're going to make sure that that happens and hopefully partner with, they mentioned Loft Literary Center. So more questions than answers, hopefully more answers to come.
Yeah, sorry for the redundancy. Thank you, but thank you.
No worries.
I just remember them also mentioning him when we asked, when I think Jeff asked that when they were on the call last, maybe we could refer to the notes, but I'm pretty sure they were on board with him being there. So it's just a matter of confirming that.
Yeah, I'm not sure how the working group works, being that we're just kind of starting it up from scratch. So that's one of the questions of what that will look like going forward. I thought the main thing to start would be some basic research and some budgeting ideas, and then to broaden the circle from there exponentially, I hope, you know, little ripples, if you will.
I think that makes a lot of sense because sometimes it is difficult to invite people who are busy leaders in our community without knowing what the commitment looks like. Like, what is the deadline for what? Like, is it an open call? Is it a nomination process? Is it a you know, is it a community, like, is it, you know, just kind of like, what are the outcomes are elected looking for with the investments they're proposing? And I love the research component. So I think defining that just a little bit better and getting it a little more clear will help us with roles, responsibilities, and we maybe won't have as much ambiguity. Plus, like, I mean, again, like I just kind of say, like, the deadline is what for what, you know, and we can work with that. I think anybody can, you know, like, we can turn things around as quickly as we can and still hopefully reach the outcomes that are, but that, and I missed the meeting last month, so I know that a lot of this was talked about, but it will be helpful to dial down. And even if they aren't unsure, like, that's an okay answer too. We just need to know, like, what exactly are the expectations for the development of this, you know, program. So I want to mention that in the chat too. I'm not sure who dropped that, but Tamiko French was interested too. So I think maybe having a list of people who have expressed interest is going to be of importance, and just bring that up. It's building already. So that's great. That's an excellent thing. So, okay. Any other questions, feedback? All right, we will move on to public art updates. And I am asking for Mary to give us I'm not sure if you prepared a short presentation about basically we were talking at our last public art advisory meeting about Accession. And so that is the project. And it's not so much that formally we have to approve or have any kind of formal process right now for reasons that Mary can describe, but from a learning place, I really appreciate that Mary has generously offered to just sort of bring us along about what this particular Accession process is about. So go ahead. Thank you, Mary.
Oh, I hope my thing isn't on auto forward. So I just, I'm gonna stop that. So we are in the process of deassessing the Columbia Park Gateway, and I thought I would just update you about it. Normally, you would actually make a decision related to this, but because of unique circumstances, this does not need to go to the commission. Deassessing is removing something from the art collection. And it doesn't happen a lot, but it happens sometimes. And we have a detailed policy that guides how this happens, that includes review by everybody, including the city council. Because deassessing is kind of a big deal, and we hardly send anything the commission decides back to up to the city council, but deassessing is one of the things that goes to them. So just a few things about the policy. It recognizes that artworks don't live forever. They have a lifespan. It requires a community meeting. It requires artists' input, and the artists might also have certain rights through the Visual Artists' Rights Act. And it suggests that whatever recommendation folks come up with, They also decide what happens to it when it's deassessed. Does it get sold? Does it get destroyed? Do we give it to somebody? That kind of thing. The deaccession of the Columbia Park Gateway is due to the redevelopment of the site, which is owned by Hennepin County, for a warehouse distribution center. And the Gateway is in northeast Minneapolis, the very north part of northeast Minneapolis. Across the street from the Gateway is Fridley. It's on University Avenue. It was installed in 2000, and the artists are Ann Klefstedt, who lives, and Jeffrey Kallstrom, who both live in Duluth. It is really a community garden more than anything else, and the work includes garden beds, picnic tables, and a shelter. Many of the elements of the Gateway that were designed by the artists, you wouldn't know that they are art. They look like your typical picnic shelter, your typical benches. There was a bronze falcon that was on top of the water tower element that was stolen several years ago. The site was used actively by the Columbia Park Garden Club for many years, but they are now defunct, and the site is not being used by anyone anymore. And years ago, the panel and the Arts Commission decided not to invest a lot of money in this project because, in terms of maintenance, because it just, first of all, not very durable. It's all, many parts are wood, which we hardly ever invest in, just regular wood for an outdoor artwork. But also because artistically, it wasn't very strong compared to other artworks we owned in the collection. And the community wasn't very engaged in the work, aside from the garden club. So this, as I said, the site is owned by the Hennepin County Regional Rail Authority, and we were leasing the site until 2013. The city attorney decided to stop leasing it because he thought it was not in the city's best interest to lease the site because the garden club was not part of the agreement, and there was a lot of liability related to the garden club using the site. And the garden club and the neighborhood said they weren't interested in participating in the actual lease. And so the city just let the lease expire. When Hennepin County told us that they wanted to redevelop the site and picked a developer, we consulted the city attorney and said, you know, what kind of approvals do we need from the artists? The city attorney went, well, do you know that we don't even own this work anymore? Do you know that the lease says that the artwork gets turned over to Hennepin County when the lease expires? And so we're like, oh, well, so that's why it doesn't actually have to go to you, is because we don't actually own it anymore. It was deassessed legally, even though we weren't really aware of that. So the attorney recommended that the artists sign a waiver of their rights through the Visual Artists' Rights Act, which the act prevents artists from having their works destroyed. And so we contacted the artists, told them about the situation, and the artists have agreed to sign waivers. So just a couple of next steps. So we talked to the artists, they're not interested in any of the elements. We talked to the garden club, they're not really interested in any of the elements. We talked to the neighborhood Arts Association, and they're not really interested in any of the elements. But with one exception, the artist has expressed an interest in getting the water tank out of the water tower and reusing it personally. But the developer has agreed to reincorporate these sweet little plaques that are currently in a concrete bench into the development, probably on a concrete pad adjacent to the sidewalk somewhere. They haven't decided exactly where. We anticipate that this work will start getting removed actually at the end of the month. So that's just kind of my briefing. Normally this would come to you. You would have to decide what you wanted to do with it. Legally, we don't need to do that this time around. I wanted to kind of brief you about it because these are difficult decisions usually, and it would have been a lot for you to chew on. Just to remind you that de-accession exists, it happens, and it comes to you on occasion, but not very often, usually every 3 or 4 or 5 years.
It is really interesting, and it's funny that like this hadn't crossed my mind about the need to have this process from time to time. Clearly, we have a really big collection. How many pieces all told, Mary, in the collection?
We have about 90 pieces with about over 350 elements. Some of the pieces span blocks and blocks and blocks. And so, you know, some pieces just include one element, but we do own about 90 pieces. And, you know, we can't afford to just keep building art forever and not de-access some. We have to get rid of pieces that aren't significant. And, you know, an artwork usually has a lifespan that, you know, works that have been extremely significant. The Arts Commission has decided to invest dollars in doing major conservation to keep giving artwork another 25-year lifespan, but that usually costs like 5 times as much as it cost to originally commission the artwork. So it's a huge investment.
Thank you. Does anyone have any comments or questions for the de-accession process that Mary's presented? Awesome. Well, thank you for being generous in that learning. I think it's important, and I think this will be something that will come up again. So now we've got a little bit of experience about what the process looks like, and it may at some point be a bigger decision for us to consider at some point. But in this instance, it isn't. So it's kind of a nice way to dip our toes in understanding how this works. So, okay. Is there any new business? Anybody? Wow, we covered a lot of ground tonight, but I think we did our job. All right, excellent. So action steps. Mary already sent the email to the social media person. That is done. You all are expected to spend a little bit of one email to Lana about the criteria that you think is important for us to have that will help us to determine when we pull public art projects from consent, or anything for that matter from consent, typically public art projects. And I think, you know, the work of your work plans, of course, is always hopefully helping to guide you forward. We will be interviewing another candidate next week. We are asking you to please continue to campaign for people to join us and prioritizing BIPOC individuals that live or work in the city of Minneapolis. So let's see. There is a process to adjourning. With that, we have completed all the items on the agenda for this meeting. I will ask members and staff if there are any further matters to come before this meeting. If not, and without objection, I will declare this meeting adjourned. Thanks, everybody. Have a beautiful rest of this month and a nice rest of summer. Thank you.
Thanks, John.
Thanks all.
Thanks,
Bye.
John.